Christmas Day, my Final Cut Pro library, which is what I use for editing my vlog, reached the total of 1.3 terabytes of data. And that was just for the one that I used for doing the vlog and the saxophone lessons, not including home video and everything else like that. Now, I've got the top spec 27-inch iMac with a 2 terabyte drive, and obviously a 1.3 terabyte. Is that what I said? Final Cut Pro? It was huge anyway. So, just arrived from Amazon is the Porsche Design Lacey. I'm not really bothered about the Porsche design, although it does look nice, but it's basically going to hide behind my machine anyway. What I'm interested in is it's got 4 terabytes. And what I'm going to do now is shift most of the vlog and my Lightroom libraries and everything else like that onto this drive, so that the drive for the iMac is pretty much clear for, if I actually have my iTunes library on a different hard drive as well. So basically I can try and clear up some space, and hopefully my iMac will run a little faster. Hello, Charlie. Just be careful.
Hello.
Okay, so the most advice I've read up online suggests that what I need to do first of all is to copy the Final Cut library from my main iMac hard drive onto the external, and then start moving all the files around, which is a bit tricky and kind of not very Apple, so we'll see what happens. I've managed to work it down to about 650 gig, so that's going to take a little while to copy. 2 hours according to that, which is a fair amount of time. So I'm going to do my saxophone practice now and come back to that in a minute. So whilst my jumper has stayed the same, we are 4 days after I shot the original footage you just saw with the hard drive. It took actually about 3.5 hours to copy everything I wanted from the iMac's hard drive onto this external drive. The great thing is, as I'm going to show you in a minute, it has transformed the boot speed of the iMac. It now boots a lot faster because, aside from the obvious thing about trying to need more room to run everything, it was getting really sluggish because it only had about something ridiculous like 50 gig left on a 2 terabyte drive. So I'll show you the boot speed. And while that's booting, so it's starting now. Which how long it takes to get to the home screen. If I thought on it, I'll put a little timer here. Maybe I will do, we'll see how the edit goes. Anyway, my parents have just been down, which means I've been out of the studio because we basically turned that into a guest room when we have guests here. There you go, it's booted. Oh, it hasn't. Nearly there. Yeah, so I haven't been in the studio. I have continued with my practice, mostly on soprano, there you go, it's booted. Mostly in the kitchen, just running through things on the soprano. Today is New Year's Eve, so we are taking the kids out to a little kids party. My parents have just gone home, so we said bye to them, and then we're heading to a friend's on the road for a party, and then Kate and I are just staying in for the night. New Year's Eve gigs are kind of a weird animal. I used to enjoy doing them, but I'll tell you a story from a few years ago when I saw New Year in the fire escape of a Belfast hotel. Not because there'd been a fire, I literally had finished the gig. I was my second gig of New Year's Eve, and I was going on to the third gig, which I was starting at midnight. And I've always viewed New Year's as a way just to earn more money, basically. Often New Year's Eve was the gig that got you through January when it was quiet. Now I don't tend to do them. Basically, there's a lot of people who don't go out very often, getting very drunk. I once nearly came to a physical confrontation with someone because they thought they could get hold of my saxophone on New Year's Eve. And so I've done some New Year's Eve gigs. I had a New Year's Eve gig a few years ago at the Blitz in Kettering, which was a really nice 1940s setup. It's great, but it's the hardest thing on New Year's Eve is being stone cold sober and driving back. I think New Year's Eve blowouts are for younger people or older people. I don't know. Maybe we'll change. I think the millennium kind of ruined New Year's Eve because everyone was trying to get silly money for the gigs and silly money for paying people to go out, and so a lot of people just decided to stay home and do house parties. And I think that kind of was the way people have gone from it. So anyway, I am going to get a little bit of practice done so I can tick off today, this really does work. I'm going to talk more about it in the new year. Tomorrow being New Year's Day, I'll post a video up and I'll talk about this video from Denzel Washington where he talks about goals. I shared it with my students last year and we spoke about the importance of, dreams without goals just don't happen, so lead to a lot of frustration. So we'll talk about goals for next year, both how I'm going to how I want to achieve it and, things that might help you. But until then, whatever you're doing for New Year's, stay safe. Have a great time, and I look forward to seeing you in 2017 for what I hope will be as an interesting a year as 2016 has been. So I've watched a little bit over the last few weeks some people doing vlogs, and I kind of thought